SHAPE creates opportunities to develop the practice and work of disabled and deaf artists. We help to break down barriers that people might face in showcasing their work in high profile and mainstream settings. In most cases, the work of disabled and deaf artists still doesn't receive the same recognition as that of non-disabled artists. SHAPE received funding from London councils to produce 4 new commissions by disabled and deaf artists. We asked the artists to provide an insight into what the London 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games means to them and what it could mean to other deaf and disabled Londoners. The aim of the commissions is to provide a high-profile showcase for the work and the ideas of disabled and deaf artists, and to engage more disabled and deaf Londoners in the Olympic and Paralympic Games and Cultural Olympaid. We received a great response and so many fantastic applications. And we brought in 4 art form partners to bring their own expertise in their particular areas to help us select the artists. They're in 4 different art forms, which were poetry and spoken word, visual arts and media, dance and street arts. The commissions were selected through an open submission, and the artists were decided based on the quality of their work and on their response to the themes.
We produce work for young audiences, and the central theme of all of our work is the celebration of difference and diversity. Predominantly, we produce work for young audiences, and we strongly believe that, by introducing a variety of experiences to young people enables them to create a whole picture of the world and the society in which they live. And we try and include a lot of international influences in our work, just to really celebrate that, it's okay to be different. The piece is called Paper People. It's about 2 performers in characters as newspaper sellers, and they use their newspapers and their newspaper stand to tell a variety of different stories. So by cutting the newspapers and creating puppets with the newspapers and lots of it has a very Tim Burton pop-up quality to it.
Chasms, The Paper People is a really intimate and thoughtful street theatre piece for young audiences. When we selected it, we were really interested in the way that it was looking at the small stories within the really big story that is the London 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games.
And also at the time when I was developing it, it was when the Olympics were happening in Beijing. So going back to our company and our international influences, I was looking for something that was that came out of China, I suppose. And we started to explore Chinese paper cutting, and then that led to the idea that actually you can give a child a piece of paper and they can play with it for hours and create lots of different things. So it all sort of evolved out of that simple idea, really, and then we put it in the context of actually people who sell newspapers, and it sort of grew from there, really.
And it's amazing that how when you pick up a piece of paper and a pair of scissors, how suddenly people are really interested in what you're going to make, and how you can make something like you can make a Superman cape or a meteorite or some animals or something come alive out of just one simple piece of paper. I think it's really magical for young people to see that.
There are moments when children sometimes want to ask questions or point and sort of ask their parents or guardians, what's wrong with that person? Why do they walk that way? And sometimes they're told to be quiet and not to mention it. Whereas this piece is very much around, here's 2 disabled people having a really fun, creative time and engaging with the young people. So actually the young person starts to just see them as fun, creative people rather than being told not to look or not to point or not to talk about it. So I hope that there's a real fun engagement and that the young people go away just remembering the creative, fun experience rather than the individuals and their disabilities.
We
we work with dancers with and without disabilities. We're the only company in the UK that work with somebody with a learning disability and somebody with a physical disability. I think Stopgap appeals to lots of different audiences because of who we are and how we do look so different on stage and we work together. And I think we inspire a lot of different audiences. And in that way we are challenging the notions, because those that come to see dance, they just don't expect to see Laura and Chris working so well on the stage. And yeah, our piece that's inspired by the 2012 Olympics is called Tracking. It is a piece that is set outside for an outside audience. So with the Olympics coming up, we realised there's going to be lots of visitors to the UK, and so we wanted to capture their attention and we wanted to give them a flavour of what we think Britishness is.
Stopgap's tracking is really interesting in that it's a beautiful piece in its own right, but one of the other reasons it was selected was that it provided an opportunity for the company to produce its first ever outdoor dance piece. The piece itself takes humour and symbols to look at what makes London London, but then goes much deeper to look at issues of empowerment and democracy.
What London is to us in the piece, and we do kind of play a little bit on the stereotypes of the umbrellas and the queuing and the kind of very traditional British stand in a queue, but also there's a lot of kind of vibrancy and variety and colours and creativity, and I think that there's that kind of interesting mix that you've got the commuter and the slightly duller side and the queuing, but it's kind of complemented and contrasted with the brighter side and the vibrancy that's in the capital.
I think that's kind of what we do, kind of interact with the audience throughout the piece, because my character is like he wants to be with the audience, because he interacts with the audience. Then we kind of have like a conversation. We sometimes go to like one of the people, if it was outside, we go from behind someone and hold the umbrella up. So it interacts with them, the people around the outsiders, like Laura said.
The main inspiration is the people that I work with and the dancers and Stopgap Dance Company, and I think I've been thinking about this, and I think actually they're quite a British phenomenon in themselves, because they're all so different, and you put them all together and you just don't expect it to work, and it really does.
I use performance as an academic discipline and it's a form of experimental art that involves thinking about how to frame art in terms of the performance of it. Paintings or sculptures are always made, and so I think about placing myself inside the work as the maker of the art, so the frame has come down off the wall and the frame is around me making it. This is true, yes, I'm very much involved with encountering situations and circumstances and responding to them, sometimes quite live, so there's oftentimes very minimal preparation and there's no devising of a finished work. I will often invent the work or explore the work in situ, in real time. We're making up as we go along. The piece that I've made for them is called 60 metres gold handicap, and in brackets King Midas. It's a depiction of me dressed turned to gold and attempting to move or cover 60 metres of a racetrack in a futuristic state-of-the-art athletic centre in Lee Valley.
Erin Williams' film, The 60 Metres Gold Handicap, sees King Midas running a 60-metre race, weighed down by the weight of his own gold. It was selected because we were really attracted to the idea of Williamson's very humorous and irreverent look at the Olympics.
I wanted to show something that was predicated on the exact opposite of physical excellence, and managed to move the slowest 60 metres ever. It's a way of using the word handicap, which is always seen as a pejorative term now, so it's I tried to make a comical circumstance out of a word that's been pretty much removed from the vocabulary.
I perform poetry and I perform short stories with ukulele, with Casio keyboard, and sometimes I just talk about whatever happens on stage. Probably as a child I was always troubled mentally and emotionally and struggled and went into therapy when I was quite young, 27. And of course alongside that I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was 23, so I was always struggling with the pain and the physical disability of that as well. So it's been part of my life from a child to an adult as I am now, and it always will be a part of my life. But I celebrate it now in a way, in a creative way that I get a lot out of and other people get out of, which is very, very different from being very destructive with it, as I was being destructive in all sorts of ways and physically getting worse, whereas now I seem to be physically getting better and mentally just giving it all out to other people, whether they listen or not. The name of the piece that I have written, which is inspired by 2012, is entitled £500 a line.
Liz Bentley is a sit-down comedian with a really unique take on life. She took the £5,000 commission to take holidays in her mind and to produce a poem that she says is a bargain at £500 a line. I think the commission for Liz was a really incredible opportunity to help her take the next step with her career as a poet and a spoken word artist, and to really realise her own potential.
I really struggled with the subject matter, well, the subject of the Olympics, let's say, and looked at what other people that had got cultural Olympiad commissions, what they were doing, and they were talking about themselves. They were saying, this is for me, this is for something for me to give out my work at this time, this is an opportunity. So then I started to think, well actually, this is about me, this is about who I am, this is about me in this whole scheme of things. So I started to feel a bit more comfortable about writing, about what it was like for me. So the writing is about the experience of winning the commission, what the commission's meant to me, and what's happened since winning the commission.
The 4 commissions are going to be showcased at the South Bank Centre, which is fantastic that we're able to showcase them in such a high-profile venue and get the artist a really wide audience exposure. It was really interesting to observe the artists as we walked around the South Bank Centre looking for appropriate showcase spaces.
Denise went to the South Bank and she really wanted the biggest space and the most prominent and where we would get the most exposure and the most kind of passerby audience. And I think that's in the festival courtyard right at the front by the Thames.
And basically this is a piece where we need people to be mingling, hanging around, waiting for something like that. So in the end we chose the festival terrace, which is the main area outside where there are tables and chairs.
I think actually the area was chosen for me. I mean, I went to see some of the sites. I didn't have a particular favourite position for it to be in, but I thought the work was very much helped along by the agreement with the South Bank Centre that it could, that the work could be shown at a loop. And
one of the places we thought about was the Poetry Library, but on reflection, although it seemed to make sense that maybe I should perform in the Poetry Library, like the boat bobbing along the top, there was lots of things to look out. You could see the sea. So when I saw the Blue Room The blue room is like being down in the deep bottom of what's going on, and there is no distraction. It is just a room, there is no windows, there's lovely light. We can have some beautiful blue and green lighting.
A bluebird guides your way across the sea to where I wait, sitting by the Thames.
We've got a story, can we tell it? Good? This is perfect, the shade. It's my story. Okay, we have a couple more. Olympics. It's about the Olympics.
It's fantastic. Give us some arms. Here we
Go back. Perfect. Back, manager.
There you go. And it's said that she plants seeds at night, doesn't it?
What are we doing? We're
Get after me now! Get off me, lion! Ah! Well, voila!
bardzo zróżnicowane. Ja szczególnie poleciłabym zobaczyć dzielnicę Soho, chińskie dzielnice Londynu.
Please, everybody, give it up for our main poet of the evening and our star of the night, the lovely Liz Bentley. Thank you.
I'm Spider-Man, said Jesus. You're not Spider-Man, I said. Look, man, for goodness sake, the car windows are down. People will hear you and think I'm dumb anyway. I can't write your songs, they're too hard for me. I'm happy. I'm not happy anymore. 1188. I mean 1188, not 188. A 1, a 171, a 172, a 1. Is it a 177 or is it another 172? I don't think the 177 goes to the elephant, does it? A 63, 263, 363, not 36, not 1363. I mean 263. 6 trees. One with lights on, one with lights off. We could have got there quicker if we'd walked. There is a woman at the bus stop carrying 2 ironing boards. I asked her, why are you carrying 2 ironing boards? They're further home, she said. Thank you very much.
By winning the Inspired 2012 commission means that Chasm were in a great opportunity to employ and work with a lot of artists that we might not have otherwise had the chance. And also, it's great to have a piece that has a long shelf life that can just continue and continue. And the more that Chasm gets its work out there, the more people know about us and the work that we do. So for us, it's all about the legacy.
Well, winning the Shape Arts Commission for me and Stopgap, I mean, it's been amazing for me because I'm an emerging choreographer and suddenly I have a lot of exposure. I mean, outdoor work, it really gets a new audience and people are really interested in outdoor work, so I think I'm very lucky. And for Stopgap, it's fabulous because the exposure of the Olympics and the South Bank together is a great thing, especially if you see Stopgap up close and in an outdoor environment.
Well, I was thinking about what the whole Olympics might mean for disability audience and how that might present a complex challenge, not only from that perspective, but also in terms of making an art commission. With this film, it was pretty much about, was trying to think about that question of measurement and attainment, and simultaneously thinking about how people might feel from a disability perspective that the measurement of achievement is often predicated on the physical circumstances or whatever. For example, if I were to run 60 metres in real life, I wouldn't hear the starting pistol.
It's something about recognition. I feel I've almost been sort of under the radar for a lot in my life. Life's gone like this, and all of a sudden winning this, there's a sense of recognised value, something that's coming from out. Because in the past it's been me having to value myself all the time, constantly battling in therapy, years and years of therapy, trying to value myself, and all of a sudden, from the outside, it's happening. I'm being valued from outside. So it's been a huge statement of being valued for what I do and who I am.
For me, the Shape Artist Commissions are all about opportunity and insight. It's a fantastic opportunity to see the work of some really talented artists thinking about new ideas and also to open up new audiences for their work.